Batman v Superman: Dawn of Justice is a movie that's finally being released in theaters, and I finally got to see it with my eyes after years of anticipation. Before they even announced this movie, I was anticipating the idea of a movie like this. I remember back in 2001 seeing this as an upcoming release on yahoomovies.com. And thanks to Zack Snyder, we can finally feast on this movie with our eyes. But is it any good? There's a lot of controversy around Superman. He's an alien. He caused a lot of destruction at the end of Man of Steel. Bruce Wayne, aka Batman, is not very comfortable with this because many people he cared for died that day, as well as other countless innocents. So he is ready to take Superman out. So these two heavyweights are pitted against each other, while Lex Luthor is also in town, played by Jesse Eisenberg, who has a very elaborate and evil scheme. No surprise there. There are things I love about this movie and some things that I do not love. Let's start with the things I love. First off, Ben Affleck killed it as Batman. This guy was phenomenal as Bruce Wayne / Batman. Bruce Wayne was interesting. Bruce Wayne was investing. I cared about him. I was behind him. I understood why he disliked Superman. Batman was a badass. He looked incredible. This is my favorite on-screen Batman costume we've had. I do have one problem with Batman though, and I'm going to get into that in a minute. But overall, the character of Batman in this movie, his portrayal, his badassery. Batfleck, man, you proved all the naysayers wrong. You were fantastic in this movie, as I said you would be 3 years ago when this was first announced. I was one of the only people that was like, don't kill me, I think he'll be okay. Henry Cavill is just fine as Superman. I wouldn't say he's amazing. I don't think he surpasses Christopher Reeve in any way in this film, but as the character, he works for me. Gal Gadot, or Gal Gadot, fantastic as Wonder Woman. Her appearance in this movie is brief, but it is definitely crowd-pleasing. A lot of people were very excited to see her show up, myself included. The fight, oh my god, it's fantastic. It felt like Dark Knight Returns leaped from the page onto the screen. I loved it. It was amazing. Great action. In fact, the majority of the action in this movie, fantastic. This is a really pretty movie. This is a really good-looking movie. It's also a mess. Batman v Superman has a lot of problems, and most of them are narrative and story-based. Every Zack Snyder movie looks amazing, but he has a hard time balancing story with amazing visuals. And Batman v Superman is kind of a beautiful, gigantic splat of awesomeness. And unfortunately, not all of these elements are very cohesive. My biggest issue with this movie is the fact that it feels like two different movies. The first half is this very mature, almost political thriller. There's all this controversy surrounding Superman. Does he have a place on this earth? Is he welcomed? We have Bruce Wayne attempting to figure out secrets about other people that will eventually be in the Justice League, and it feels very realistic and very grounded. And then all of a sudden, the film blows its metaphorical load, and every single thing you could possibly think of suddenly appears in this movie and becomes a gigantic science fiction extravaganza. There are so many little elements that I'm going to get into with my spoiler video I'm doing with John the Flick Pick. He came with me to see the film. That video is going to be up later this weekend. That just didn't make sense. Towards the last half of the movie, the film has a really hard time making Lois Lane relevant. She has an object, she gets rid of an object, then she has to get the object again, then she gets trapped and she's a damsel in distress, and she goes back and forth between being a character that deserves to be in this movie and a character that's just there because she's Lois Lane. At one point in time, Wonder Woman gets a very important email from Bruce Wayne, and the subject line of this email should have just said, Justice League set up. It is the most lazy shoe-in of these characters I've seen. I couldn't believe it. I mean, certain people are going to be really excited when they see certain things, but it's so forced. It just feels so forced. Do you remember Avengers Age of Ultron? Pretty fun movie overall, right? Well, what about that Thor Ragnarok tie-in where he goes to that pool? That felt really out of place, right? Well, they needed that because the studio said, hey, you gotta put that in the movie. Didn't really feel like it belonged in the movie, right? Right. What's the best superhero movie of the past couple years? In my opinion, it's Deadpool. Why was Deadpool so great? Because they could just make one great entertaining movie that wasn't so overly concerned with setting up a world or a universe. Deadpool could be a great movie because it didn't have to set up a whole bunch of other movies. Now we all want Deadpool 2 because we loved it. And that's what filmmakers are forgetting about nowadays. Films like The Amazing Spider-Man 2. That movie was so concerned about setting up the Sinister Six that it forgot to be a good movie. This film is so concerned with the necessary puzzle pieces for the eventual Justice League that this film forgot to just be a great standalone movie. It was almost like the first half was trying to be a great standalone movie, and then towards the end they just have to shoehorn in all of these little elements to make us feel like, yay, there's going to be a Justice League. And the script just couldn't balance it. It was so so sloppy. Let's talk about that one element of Batman that really let me down. This guy's shooting people left and right. He's blowing people up. He's laying down machine gun fire on all kinds of people. What? And it's not just the dream sequences in this film in which he kills people, because, okay, it's a dream sequence, whatever. In real life, this dude's mowing people down, blowing people away. I don't know what they were thinking. They completely took away the moral dilemma of the character of Batman. Batman was always right on the edge of becoming a criminal, but villains like the Joker constantly forced him to ride that edge, and that was enthralling. And if you want, go ahead and quote comic book issues in which this happened, and well, Chris, you'd never read this comic book, or well, Chris, you don't know about that story arc. There's never a scene in this film where Jeremy Irons as Alfred, who by the way is fantastic, sits down with Batman and goes, look, you're going too far. Yeah, well, they killed Robin and I have no choice. Like, if they had a scene like that, then I would have been able to get behind it. But there's never an attempt to explain why Batman has completely thrown the morals of his entire code out of the window. He just kills people now. Despite the fact that I loved Batman in this movie, I really hated that they never once attempted to explain why his moral code has completely been forgotten about. Now about Jesse Eisenberg as Lex Luthor. Well, not since Ben Affleck being cast as Batman has there been such an uproar over a casting choice. And it might have been well-deserved. He was okay. He was alright. I don't know if it worked for me. He was a little insane. He went the insane route. He reminded me of Nicolas Cage in the movie Matchstick Men. Have you ever seen the movie Matchstick Men? Nicolas Cage plays an OCD con artist who has a bit of a twitch. Every once in a while he's like... And there's a lot of moments like that in this film. I mean, moments where Lex Luthor will be standing there and he'll just kind of go like... I like Jesse Eisenberg. There were some scenes where I thought he did a very good job. There were some scenes where I thought he was very menacing, but overall, the performance was fine, and it could have been a lot better, and I'm not sure if the insane, twitchy OCD route was really the best choice. Batman v Superman is a very pretty movie. It has some really good performances. It has some really interesting elements. It has some really cool action. But unfortunately, if you saw that one trailer, you know the trailer I'm talking about, you really have seen the entire film, and there's really no more surprises left. The film makes a really cool choice, but then the film backs down from that choice. And that also bugged me. There's a lot that could have been great about this movie, but it is a mess. And trust me, I wanted to love it. I used to run around the house with my underwear on the outside of my pants and a towel wrapped around my neck because I was Superman, damn it. And I love Batman. I should have been crying throughout this entire film, but unfortunately, it is a bit of a mess. I would recommend seeing it though as a comic book movie fan. I love these characters. Batman is awesome in it. I'm going to give Batman v Superman Dawn of Justice a C+. Trust me, I'm really disappointed in saying that, but I'm not saying it's awful. There's this thing with the internet where you have to love it or you have to hate it. I'm very middle of the road. I'm very conflicted on this movie. There are things I love about it, there are things I dislike about it. Guys, those are my thoughts on Batman v Superman. Spoiler video coming this weekend. Also, please look forward to my hilariosity this Sunday because it's going to be something very special. I am going to review some of my childhood films because they're not that great. And it's time for me to make fun of myself. I think I've made fun of other people's movies enough. Let's turn the sights on me a little bit. You guys have asked me to show you my Indiana Jones movies for quite some time. I'm gonna do that, except I'm gonna review them. I'm gonna show you clips, I'm gonna make fun of myself. It's gonna be tons of fun. That's gonna be Sunday. Also, thank you so much to everyone who's bought my book. I'm serious, I can't believe it. People have been sending me photos of themselves in the bookstore, and it's brought a tear to my eye. I am so grateful. Thank you so much for doing that, guys. And thank you to the amazing people who sent my wife and I stuff in our P.O. box. This incredible painting really touched our hearts. This Superman figure back there, that Wonder Woman season. You guys are amazing. Thank you so much. I don't even know what to say. I'm blown away by your kindness and generosity. Thank you. You guys are the best. If you like this, you can click right here and get Stuckmanized.